Hello? Hello? Check. Let me put this little magnet on. I'm just doing some work today, and well, every Saturday I gotta do some feeding and cleaning, and so I'm just going to talk a little bit while I do this. All right, I got us here on the stand. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to do some feeding. Here. So what I do is I just I get all my food prepped here. I make a big batch of food. There's more than this, but big batch of food every Tuesday, at least Tuesdays and Saturdays. Feeding day is Tuesday, Thursday. Tuesday is kind of like the smoothie powder mix that I blend water into, and so that's what I feed the geckos. That's Tuesday. Thursday is crickets, but the cricket farms are out of crickets for the next month or so. But normally it's Tuesday, the smoothie stuff. Thursday, the crickets. Saturday is this stuff again. So today's Saturday. Tuesday and Thursday, Nana and Riley have been coming in to work and help out with feeding and some cleaning. They do about four hours or so on Tuesday, 4 hours on Thursday, and then Saturday I take care of. And it's been super helpful to have them help me out and do some work for me on that end. And I can always use more help, but I'll take what I can get, and I'm super grateful. So today is Saturday. It's been really busy this season. I say that all the time, but it's been pretty busy with gecko stuff, the sales every Monday, and then shipping Tuesday, Wednesdays for that one business. And then in the meantime, in tandem running the shipping business with Ling, Audrey, and Tani. It's been pretty busy, and I find myself I haven't been having enough time to just sit down at a computer and just think through things, work out some admin stuff. So I'm definitely behind on a lot of that stuff, and it's also because I allot a good amount of time in the week for church related stuff. So I do a lot of meetings Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, and then Sundays church and and things like that. So I think it's important, and I try to prioritize kind of the businesses, the work, church, and family. So in this season, it's been like crazy ridiculous in terms of the time that I have or don't have. And it's okay because I do find a lot of fulfillment in every single one of those things that I'm doing. So I feel like I'm in a good season in terms of being satisfied and content, more or less content with the season that I'm in, because the work is good. I don't feel like any of the work is wasted. And when you do things that you enjoy, then you can just work so much more, and you hit the ground running, and you're still running and running to your death. So it's been a good season. Doesn't mean I'm not tired. I am tired, but it's been a good season in the sense that it's just I'm enjoying the work, and that's what I guess. What more can you ask for when you're enjoying the work? Then you can just really grind it out. So let me see there. So what I'm feeding right now is I'm feeding these hatchlings. A lot of these things have just hatched. So these two racks over here, these two that I'm in front of, they are all ones that have hatched in July. So each rack holds 48, at least for these two. The ones over here, these taller ones, they hold 54. These ones hold 48, and these ones are filled except for the bottom row, so minus 6. So we're at 42. 42, let's say about 45 45 bins in here, and I think almost a third, no, I think almost a half actually. Half of them are clutched up, meaning there's two of them in one bin. So see, anything that says ×2 has obviously two geckos in them. So, and as they grow, I got to split them out, right? So this entire wall right now is filled with things that have hatched since April. So you can see a bunch of stuff from April, May, June, July, and starting to go into August. And there's a lot more eggs that are coming. So you can kind of see a little bit of, and then all this stuff, some of this stuff is, these are some breeders, and then these ones are some holdbacks. Holdbacks means that the ones that I've grown out and I'm keeping so that I can cycle into the new stock of breeders to produce nicer animals. And then over here are the ones that I'm trying to like offload and sell. So I kind of sort things through however I'm going to grow them up and sell them over here. So that's kind of the cycle of things, but I'm running out of room in this room, so I'm a little bit concerned that I may be out of space in this room shortly, but that's why I'm clearing up some of this room over here. Those last 3 racks in the back I haven't been using, so fortunately I still have some of those racks so I could fit another like 150 or so, but on this side at least, and then this side I could hold some more. So I just got to keep up with the selling, and that's the tough part about this business, is that the space constraint is my biggest pain point. Fortunately, my biggest pain point is not selling, because I can sell these things. However, I do understand that at any time, at any moment, you know, that sales channel can dry up, and then I'm just left with a ton of animals that I can't sell, you know. So I don't take any of this stuff for granted when it comes to businesses. The business is interesting because of just the nature of business is that you have to continually market and sell yourself to acquire customers, and then you have to retain the customers, right? So you have a customer acquisition cost, and then you have customer retention. So fortunately for me, when I was building Zero's Geckos out, I wasn't selling anything for at least the first 2.5 years, right? I was literally just building out the brand, making myself known in the hobby, and through the podcast, and through, you know, going to expos, like the show expos, the reptile expos. So those ones, you meet people in person. I was making all my connections back then, 2022 to 20, even up to last year. I mean, I'm always making connections, but I did a lot of the groundwork in terms of connections and grinding out that podcast, and building out these systems that I currently have and utilize for Zero's Geckos. And so that was kind of very foundational for where I'm at right now, because now I don't have to worry about marketing, at least not yet. And I don't have to worry about customer acquisition, because at the speed at which I'm selling these animals, it's good enough where it gives me a steady flow of income and sales. So it's been overall like pretty good. I don't take anything for granted here, where I can just jump onto a show and sell animals, like, so, if I need, it's one of those things where I don't need money, but what I'm trying to say is like, if I need some extra funds, then I could just jump on a show, sell $1,000 worth of stuff plus, and jump off. But it's been yeah. So I definitely am very appreciative of the sales channels that I do have and the brand that I've was able to build out. Um, so so yeah, the gecko business has definitely been kind of foundational for launching Ship Zeros, and just in general. Uh-oh. And just in general, giving me the ability and the freedom to think through, like, hey, what does it look like to build another business, even, you know? Where's this animal? Oh, here it is. Sometimes I don't know where these little animals went. So yeah, Zero is definitely like foundational. It's kind of my safety net for the other business, which is allowing me to take more risk, building the team out more for Ship Zeros, and allowing me more freedom to think through, like, hey, like, what does business look like 5 years from now, you know, with this business, with Ship Zeros, and even any other future businesses. And I know the temptation for me is to like start another business, and to just, you know, start that cycle again, because I feel like the skills that I've developed in the past 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years or so, has really helped me to unlock kind of the system of business and how it works. So I'm not afraid to kind of like build these systems and go get things, right? So I'm pretty good at sales, because I build with the intention of community, you know, and providing as much value as I can to our customers, and just making them feel like they are appreciated, which is true, and making them feel like they are supported, which is also true. So everything that I'm doing and trying to build in terms of our brand of Zeros Geckos and Ship Zeros, all of it is with the true intentions of support, providing them value. And yeah, so none of it is, for me, is like smoke and mirrors. You know, for me, it's all real. You know, for as much as I can control, I want to provide as much value to my customers and build my brands in that way. And so being able to teach that to my team, it's not that they didn't have that mentality already, but I'm really hammering the fact that, like, this is it. Like, this is how I want the vibes of our brand to be. I want to provide the very best customer support. I want people to have the best customer experience from start to finish. And I know that might be a very common practice for a lot of businesses, but at the end of the day, like, you can tell that when that starts to slip, you know, businesses begin to grow too big, and then they begin to lose the humanity of what they're trying to do. And I can speak of this for churches as well, you know, like in the beginning, when the teams are small, then you're able to build a really cohesive, you know, quote unquote family, and you can maintain that. But once it starts getting too big and you're not building out the structures to sustain that type of family vibe, then you're going to lose it, right? You begin to feel more like a machine. You begin to feel more like the structures are taking over the vine growth, you know. So for me, as long as I can help it, like, I do want to grow my businesses, but I also want to maintain what I feel like is true to me when it comes to providing that personal touch, that value for each and every customer. So that's kind of how I've incorporated my values into my brand. And a lot of these values are kind of universal, but I do see it as I do see it as integral to who I am because of, you know, my gospel values. When it comes to religion and my beliefs, I truly believe that everything I've been given is given to me by God, and I don't want to waste it, you know. So as much as I'm able, I want to continue to see everything I have as it's all God's anyway, and that really keeps me grounded when it comes to how I want to. I know steward is like a Christian-y word, and I don't necessarily want to use that word, but for the Christian crowd, I want to steward my life well and my resources well. So that's been kind of core to my build out, and I essentially just kind of, when it comes to a secular business, I provide all that value. I just strip out the religious talk, so it doesn't, because it's not a religious. For me, these things are, the secular businesses are just as important as the explicit religious entities. So, but within a secular business, you can still provide really gospel-centered values when it comes to the principles of how you want to work. Your work ethic, your integrity, and how you treat employees, and how you want to care for things. So, I listen to a lot of business podcasts. I listen to a lot of, read a lot of like business books. Not like technical ones, but just like self-help types of books where it's like for lay people, which I find to be like super helpful. And a lot of them, there's certain things that are in line with Christian values, but a lot of things are also focused on just how to maximize the dollar amount. For me, I'm trying not to. Here's the thing: like for me, I want to maximize the dollar amount, but not at the cost of my ethics, and not at the cost of my integrity when it comes to the core values of how I want to operate business and operate just as a human being. So I will, to the best of my ability, not try to take shortcuts or do things in underhanded ways that are shady. I want to just do things straight up, even if it means it's a slower route towards growth. And I'm okay with that. I think contentment has a big play in how I do business, because on one hand, I'm not content with where we're at when it comes to our potential for growth, but I also am content in a sense that I'm not desperate, because I think when we're desperate for sales, when we're desperate for growth and trying to maximize revenue, and you're not patient with it, then you can really easily find ways to take shortcuts. And I think there are always ways to take shortcuts and do things in underhanded ways that compromise your morals. And if you don't think it's a moral issue, then that's just how you operate, and that's not how I want to operate. So all that to say is, building this business, building this brand, it's grounded in the core values that have been nurtured in me as somebody that believes in the gospel, that believes in kind of this kingdom work ethic. So okay, right now, so what I do, how I feed these animals is like I have these contact lens cases, and I get these. I just bought like 72 more of these. I just constantly buying these things, but I buy these like contact lens cases, and these ones have 2 in there. One of them I put water in, so I'll show you. So I have these contact lens cases. I screw the tops off, and I put one of these things is water, and one of these things is this food, kind of this smoothie food for the geckos, and that's just refilling them, and so that they can eat and grow. But and the more hatchlings that are born, the more we have to work. And right now, more things are being born than are being sold. During the springtime, I was selling at a rate that was good because I was keeping up. And now it's just a flood of animals being born and hatched. So I can't keep up at the moment. Once the sales slows down, that makes it hard too. But usually summertime, wintertime are a little bit of the slower months historically in the last few years. In the last many years actually, but just from my experience. So, but I'm still able to sell decently, which has been nice. I just can't sell as quick as I want to during the summer. And the reason for that is it's kind of the breeding cycles of how people need and utilize animals, and when new people come in and stuff. So also summertime is slower when it comes to the shipping business because we don't, in places that are too hot, we don't ship. People tend not to ship as easily, because it can be dangerous for the animals. So I'm rambling for 21 minutes. Other topics to discuss. Okay, so I guess one thing I could discuss. I don't think anyone will listen to this long. But I think another thing we can discuss is like this, where this is me just kind of, this is how I talk to ChatGPT. I just like give it updates and I think through, I brainstorm with GPT, So GPT has like huge in terms of helping me think through how to do business, when to do certain things, and it helps me. It's like talking to like a really smart friend that whose advice you really trust. It's not like you have to do every single thing, but it just helps you bounce ideas off and gives you kind of a way forward. And when you're stuck, like, oh man, what about when should I hire somebody, or when should I blah blah blah, And so I feed GPT my P&Ls, and I get, at this point, I get a monthly P&L, a profit and loss statement from my CPA, and just to track things, right? So in July, I did Ship Zeros alone did $60,000 in top line revenue. But obviously that doesn't mean anything if I can't convert that into net income, And right now, even though it's a $60,000 a month in terms of sales, it was not necessarily a profitable month due to various reasons of I gave more hours out. I've started doing payroll as two W-2 employees, so I have to pay not only extra fees on top of that payroll, but I have to pay payroll taxes, which is quite a bit when it comes to W-2 employees. So earlier on, my CPA was like, hold out on bringing on employees as actual W-2 employees for your business. Keep them contractors as long as you can. But Audrey and Mei Ling have been doing enough work for me, which they have become core to the business. And so California is a little bit more strict when it comes to classifying your workers, your employees. And so I had to classify them as W-2 employees and not contract workers because they are essentially core to the business. And so contractor is, you can utilize contract workers as, temp workers essentially. So they're not core to your business, right? They can, a few variables is not just the hours, but hours has to do with it too, but not just the hours, but it's the hours they work. And it can be an indicator of how important they are when it comes to your business and how it operates. So because Mei Ling has been core to building out the operations and providing customer support, if I were to lose her, it would, I would have to rehire for that position. So she's core to the business. So, and then also Audrey, if I were to lose her, I'd have to hire another employee to keep the operations flowing, So because they're core people, I had to reclassify them no longer as contract workers, but as W-2 employees. So now I'm paying those fees and those taxes, which is expensive. There's so many fees that go into a business. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on coffee shops and coffee shop build outs. And it's not like I'm not going to build a coffee shop or start a coffee shop, but I like that there's so much information out there about how to start a business, what the overhead cost is, the initial investment, and just things to watch out for when it comes to growing a business, building out your business, how to spend your money. And that to me is just really fascinating because the businesses itself is like very simple in terms of the model, but it's within each layer of business, how you operate is very important because how you interpret data. This is why you have in big companies you have data analysts, you have like these financial analysts, and every single thing matters when the more you grow. Right now we're just like bootstrapping. I'm terrible with numbers, and so this is why for me it is a pain point, and one of the constraints of my business is that I need to do a better job with figuring out the finances in a way that we can convert to profitability, whether it's increasing profit margins, whereas the cost of goods of a label is X amount of dollars, I need to upcharge a little bit higher, things like that. So and there's all these like fees and all these other things I have to pay, and so everything is a bit unwieldy for me when it comes to the finances, which has been the biggest pain point for me. So the machine is built in the sense that like we have a good product, we have great customer support, so that itself is there. Now we have to go and outreach and cold call and email all these other animal stores, etc. So that's going to be this upcoming phase for the next several months, but yeah, I need to get the numbers in order. It's definitely a growing pain, but it's not an unforeseen growing pain. I already knew this was kind of my weakness, so eventually I'll need help there. I do have a CPA, but he's not in the weeds of every single everything is tracked. And so he's giving me P&Ls, but he's not in the weeds of giving me an analysis and advice of what to do, if that makes sense, right? So he's not necessarily like a business advice type of guy. He's just a CPA that is helping me grind out some numbers and stuff. So yeah, so that was the month of July. So year to date, we're at $400,000 in revenue, top line revenue, but net income is essentially zeroed out. I think maybe year to date I made like $5,000 after all salaries are paid and operating costs, and so business work itself is like it's definitely a grind, and so this is why I'm still doing this. Last year I was trying to downsize and do less of this so that I can focus more on the shipping business, but instead I built this out even more. I did more pairings, and I'm kind of doing the same amount of shows, but I'm not stopping, right? And that to me has been like pretty tiring for me, but that's the reason. It's because like this is my safety net. The gecko business, the sales, it's already built out, and it is my safety net, which I know it's not a right or wrong thing. It's just more of like, how do I want to spend my time? How, it's a wrestle for me. It's definitely a wrestle for me. Okay, so I'm gonna Now I gotta do this side. I fed everything on this side already. Now I gotta do this side over here. So yeah. Yep. Oh, we're at 30 minutes already. I could talk forever. Yeah, I just need to stop talking. There's so much more I want to talk about. I think when you get older, I don't know. I'm making stuff up now, but I think when you get older, like you don't necessarily need as many friends. Not that I don't have a lot of friends. Like I have friends and appreciate everybody, love everybody, but you just don't need necessarily like to see people as much. And so maybe because of that, then I've kind of been okay with just talking to a camera, because I do all these palm shoot shows that I'm just literally talking to the camera like this, and people are in the chats, right? They're in the chats like down in the comments, and I'm engaging them, but nonetheless I'm still talking to myself in an empty room, you know. And so maybe I've gotten used to that. So maybe that's why I just like to blabber on forever. There's a lot up here that just needs to like express itself, you know. So yeah. What's going to happen with the future of the business? I I definitely want to see Ship Zeros grow as much as possible, without compromising my integrity and values. So I will push for sure. And then we'll see what happens here. It just depends on how much help I can get with this business, the gecko business, because it's so manual, you know, like the more you grow, the more time and energy you need physically to clean and feed. There's just a lot more time that's spent in the gecko business, but I mean, I enjoy it. It keeps me in the front lines of the hobby, so that I don't know. It gives me a little bit more clout when it comes to, gives more legitimacy when it comes to the shipping business. You know, I'm not just some random Joe Schmo that doesn't know the industry. Like, I'm actually on the front lines doing the work, shipping every single week. You know, so I do think that that's helpful for the shipping business itself. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this looks like, if I should grow or not, if I'll have enough help in the future, and then for the shipping thing, it has a lot more potential, scale wise. So, but I need more time. That's what I need. I need more time. That's my constraint. It's between these two businesses. So, I mean, you can just be like, oh, just hire more. I'm like, yeah, I can hire more people to run this. Maybe have like someone manage and run the majority of this. So I'm kind of at that crossroads where I'm trying to figure it out. Either like hire someone, have someone manage this, and just take a small cut of whatever is coming and just give the rest to whoever's gonna work in this role. And that'll free me up for shipping. But I don't know. I'm torn. So yeah, it's growing pains, and it's a good problem to have, you know. So yeah. So anyway, my little ramble thoughts for now. There's always a lot I want to talk about, but we'll keep it like that.